And we are officially recording. So welcome everyone. My name is the Reverend David Pyle. I am the Governance Program Manager for the Central East region of the UUA. It's great to have you all with us here for the February Presidents and Leaders Roundtable. This has been an experiment this year for us to, have just a time once a month where we all come together as presidents and leaders in congregations, have a couple of good ideas, share about some upcoming events, and then hear from you all about something that's going on related to your congregations. I'll have a couple of ads for the one that's for our next one, which is coming up in March in a few minutes. But I just wanted to say welcome, and I want to begin us with a chalice lighting reading. And so I love to pick chalice lighting readings that come from our hymnal because, there's just such great things in our hymnal that I think we often don't pay attention to. And as the chalice lighting reading for this month, I have chosen number 662, written by the Reverend A. Pyle Davies, who is a minister here in the Central East region, was a minister in the Washington, D.C. area, among other places. And he wrote this: "The years of all of us are short, our lives precarious. Our days and nights go hurrying on, and there is scarcely time to do the little that we might. Yet we find time for bitterness, for petty treason and evasion. What can we do to stretch our hearts enough to lose their littleness? Here we are, all of us, all upon this planet, bound together in a common destiny, living our lives between the briefness of the daylight and the dark. Kindred in this, each lighted by the same precarious flickering flame of life. How does it happen we are not kindred in all things else? How strange and foolish are these walls of separation that divide us." And that's a question I've been asking myself quite a bit this last couple of weeks. So we have Megan has asked everyone to mute themselves. You can left click at the bottom to be able to mute. That would be helpful to us if you do that when you're not speaking. But please remember to unmute yourself when you are speaking.
I'm sorry. How do you mute yourself?
If you're on the phone, you can use your phone's mute function.
Okay, I'm.
If
All
you're
right,
on a computer, if you're on a computer, and this is Stephen Barada asking the question.
Yeah, and I'm on my phone, but I don't see a mute.
So at the bottom of your screen, there should be an option. If you like touch near the bottom, there should be come up an option to be able a little microphone.
Let's see. No. Okay, I'll just be quiet.
Well, how about this? I will mute you, Stephen, until we are ready to have a group discussion. Then I will unmute you. How's that?
Sounds fine.
Yeah, there you go. All right. So welcome. So here's the goal of this call. The purpose of this call every month is to offer a regularly scheduled opportunity for congregational leaders to connect with UUA Central East regional staff, to share a few good ideas monthly with all congregational presidents and leadership, to build community between the leaders of the congregations and of the Central East region of the UUA, and for the Central East regional staff to hear directly from congregations what is important to you, to aid in developing programming and capacity building training. So this is all of those things we hope to do. We also know that about 40 to 45 people watch the video every month. So we have some of us that are here. We have another 40 or 45 people, and during this year of experiment, that's been growing. So we will encourage you all to send this out to the video when you get the link. Send it out to other congregational leaders in your congregation. So the one thing I love to do, though, and I'm going to take us off screen share for just a second to do this, is I would love us all to kind of wave our hand. If we were to check in by, saying who we are and what congregation we're from, that would take the next 45 minutes. Maybe not that long, but it would take a while. So what I instead want to do is I want you all, I'm going to unmute Stephen for a second, and I'm going to have you all just shout out with here or yay or, chalice or joy or whatever you want to shout out with when I call out your state. so we can see what all states are here. Are y'all ready? So, who's here from Virginia?
Yes.
So we have quite a few people from Virginia. Thank you. Anybody here from Maryland?
I'm here.
Woo!
Yes.
So Maryland. Anybody here from Washington D.C.?
Yes, I get 2 votes.
Yes, you do, because you don't get a
I
vote
live in Washington,
in
D.C., and I
D.C.
attend.
Thank you. Anybody here from Delaware? Besides me? Why am I always the only person from Delaware? I'm going to get up on those Delaware congregations for not coming to this meeting. All right, who do we have here from Pennsylvania?
Yay!
Yeah,
Quite a few
yeah.
from Pennsylvania. Anybody here from New Jersey? 2 months in a row with nobody from New Jersey. How about anybody from New York?
Joy.
Yeah.
Quite a few from New York. How about anybody here from Ohio?
Yes. Yes.
Got a few from Ohio. Anybody here from West Virginia? And I see James has raised his hand.
No, I forgot to unraise my hand.
Oh,
I had
take
to raise
care
for
of.
Pennsylvania. Sorry.
Gotcha. We took care of you. All right. Anybody here from West Virginia? Nobody from West Virginia. Anybody here from Connecticut? So those are all of the states that have part of the Central East region within them. We have about half of Ohio, a little bit of Connecticut, all of West Virginia. So it's also a chance for us to see just really how large the Central East region is, 198 congregations of our region. So it's really great to have you all here with us today. And maybe they'll watch the video and they'll hear this, but my Delaware people, you all have disappointed. I am going to talk to you all about that. So let me share the screen again. So, our agenda today, we did the chalice lighting and welcoming. We talked about the purpose of this call, this teleconference. We're going to introduce our featured Spotlight Congregational Life staff member in a few minutes, Reverend Dr. Hope Johnson. And we have one person who is having some dish problems in the background. I think it's James. So we're gonna mute James for a few. Okay. So we have talk a little about some upcoming events on the Central East Regional calendar. In particular, I want to talk about webinars today. So I've pulled out the webinars that are scheduled for this spring, and we'll talk about those. I look at a different section of our events every month. So webinars today. We'll talk about the April 1st Leadership Day, which is our major upcoming event. Hope is going to lead us through some conversation and some exploration of leading by listening. And I'll let her talk about that when it comes time for that. And then our question for you all today. We start off, remember, we close with asking you all a deeper question. Our question for you all today is that we're going to invite you all to share. So be thinking about this. Is what are you hopeful for? What dreams do you have for the future of your congregation in the next 3 or 4 years? And I'm not saying the fantastical ones about we're going to transform the world for peace and love, which I do believe we will do, but I'm thinking, some more concrete ones for your congregation, some hopes. I want y'all to hear, there's so much negative that is out there right now. I want to hear some of our hopes, some of our positives, some of what we're working towards. So be thinking about that. And then we'll offer some closing words. So that is our upcoming meeting. Is there anything that for the good of the order we think we're missing or something that doesn't make sense?
I have a question.
Sure.
I maybe I misunderstood, but I thought you were going to talk a little bit about fair share.
That is the March meeting.
That's the March meeting. Okay.
Yes. Thank you for that segue. That was the next thing I was going to talk about, is that we have just for the March meeting, we mentioned this in January to say it was going to be happening in March. For the March meeting, we will be having representatives from Stewardship for Us. We were having representatives from the Stewardship and Development Office of the UUA come to talk with us about about the two changes that we're looking at in the near future. One is the unified ask, so moving to one ask number, and they'll also be available to talk a little bit about where we are in living into the UUA Board of Trustees direction to move away from the by-member pledge and towards a different form of annual program fund. So I'm not going to precurse what that conversation looks like because that's not my lane, but that'll be the March 22nd meeting. And we think that one's important enough that we want people to be present for it. We're highlighting it each meeting up till now. So I'm sorry that there was confusion thinking that was going to be this month.
That's all right.
All right. Any other questions before we get started? All right. So introducing our Central East Regional Congregational Life staff, I want to start off with welcoming those members of the Congregational Life staff that are not Hope Johnson, that are on the call, and let them say a few things. I think we have one with us today, and that's Megan Foley, Reverend Megan Foley, our regional lead. Megan, you want to say hi?
Well, I said hi when you were transitioning a little bit, but I'm the regional lead. So we all together, the team, are working together to try to bring the best possible services to y'all. So I'm happy to be on the call. I love to hear what you all are thinking and learning about. And of course, we're always here to answer any questions, not just today, but at all times. So look forward to hearing from you.
And Megan, where do you also serve as the primary contact?
I'm the primary contact to our DC and Annapolis congregations, so all around the Beltway. And I live in Maryland.
So thank you. So our featured staff person today is the Reverend Dr. Hope Johnson, and she was kind enough to give me a little bit of a bio. I sent one of them out. We're going to let her talk in a few minutes, but and Hope, just so you know, what you're going to be asked to talk about in a second is your program manager areas and what your primary contact area is.
Okay.
So Hope Johnson serves as a congregational life consultant within the Central East region, while also continuing to stay rooted in congregational service as the parish minister of the UU Church of Central Nassau, New York. I've got a echo.
David, we're hearing you twice.
Yeah, I think it stopped. Okay. She brings specialties in conflict resolution and multicultural congregational development. Previously, she served as the Minister of Spiritual Life for First Unitarian Church of Brooklyn, New York, and Director of Religious Education for the First Unitarian Church of Brooklyn, New York.
And
she brings a wealth of experience from her years of UUA leadership, including the UUA Appointments Committee, the UUA Nominating Committee, the UUMA Continental Good Officers Team, and a variety of UU College of Social Justice leadership positions, just to name a few. She has also served as president of the Living Legacy Project, an organization that lifts up the lessons and legacy of the civil rights movement. Hope is an advocate and mentor and encourages leadership development as a spiritual practice. She is actively engaged in multi-faith ministry, cross-cultural engagement, and justice making, and I am always amazed that I get to be her colleague. So, so everybody, welcome Hope.
Welcome. Can I ask a favor? Can you slow down a little bit when you talk?
Could I what?
Slow down a little bit when you talk?
I can, yes.
Thank you.
Dear friends. So yeah. Well, as you just heard from, and thank you for that wonderful introduction. I hope you can see me. I can't see me, but I hope you can see me.
We can see you, Hope.
Great. David, thank you for that introduction, and Megan, it's good to have you here at this moment. So as you heard from David, our Central East region is huge, and my colleagues are spread out over several states, as you've heard. So in today's world, the traditional one-way lecture method of communicating, listening to TV just like a little potato vegetable, passive participation in front of computer screens have actually hurt our potential to be good leaders because it hurt our listening skills. Is someone trying to say something to me?
Well, I'm just saying this is not your program section, Hope. This is where you are saying hi.
Sorry. Hi. Oh, you know what? I'm on overzealousness. So hi. I'm Hope. I deal with conflict transformation, my primary congregations are based on Long Island and a little bit of Brooklyn. And those are my primary contacts. And as I said, my program management deals around cross-cultural competency, intercultural competency, and conflict transformation. So that we don't just deal with conflict, trying to fix things when they go wildly crazy. One of the things I try to do is to transform that conflict into something positive, and then we move forward from there. So that's what I do.
Thank you,
And
Hope.
my name is.
Hey, go ahead, Hope. You were going to say something?
I just said, and my name is Hope. Just call me Hope.
So thank you, and we'll come back to Hope with a program presentation in just a few minutes.
Thank you.
So, I'm going to bring us back to talk through upcoming events real fast. And remember, I will send out this PowerPoint along with the video, usually probably sometime tomorrow. So as usual, all events on the for the Central East region can be found on the Central East Regional website. And last couple of months, I have clicked through to the website and walked people through how to use the website. I'm going to trust that's okay, that you all can do that now. So just UUA.org Central East /events, or just go to UUA.org and put in Central East, and you'll click through to find your way to it. There's a couple events I wanted to pull out just to highlight for you all, and this month I am focusing on the upcoming webinars that we have. We're really excited. March 11th, from 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. Beth Casebolt, who is the communications program manager and consultant for the Central East region, is going to be offering a social media basics webinar. I will tell you, this is one of the things that I get congregational, presidents and membership committees regularly asking for, this support in how to use social media to be able to do better outreach as a congregation. So just know that one's coming up. Here's another one that touches on congregational board's fiduciary responsibility. Patricia Infante, another member of our regional staff, is going to be doing the Safe from Harm webinar, which is really how your congregation can be prepared for the unexpected. It's going to be March 16th from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. It covers a lot of different things, from natural disasters to have inclusion of sex offenders in congregations, to all different even I think that there is even some active shooter aspects to it. So this is a wonderful opportunity for you to connect with our regional expert in safe congregations, our specialist in safe congregations, to be able to do. How many of your congregations, by a show of hands, those of you that can be seen, how many of you all have a safe congregations policy in your team? And if you've got a team that's related to that policy, this would be a great webinar for them to attend, and to not just for the information, but also to build relationship with our Safe Congregations program manager, our Safe Congregations specialist, Patricia Infante. The next two is ones that I am really excited. I got to see the in-person version of this a webinar a couple weeks ago in Columbia, Maryland. It's the best annual budget drive ever, part 1 and 2, being done by Stewardship for Us. Now, how many of you all would like to have a better annual budget drive? Would that make a, yeah. So this webinar is upcoming, and it's something for you to think about connecting to your stewardship team and to your finance people, and to and also for your board, because boards do hold a stewardship responsibility in congregations. But those are going to be 2 webinars, April 24th and May 1st, both of them from 7 p.m. to 8:30. All of these you can register for by going to the Central East Regional UUA website page. You just click through to that event, and there's a registration button on each of those events.
David, there's also a part 3, just to let folks know.
There will be a part 3. I just did not have room for it on the screen, but just
No
so
problem.
you know that there will be 3. I figured if we got them in the first 2, they would find out
They
there
would
was a part
find out.
3. But
Indeed.
so just so you know, that we've done this as a as a longer day-long workshop. We're doing this one in partnership with Stewardship for Us. And I wanted to take a second to say who Stewardship for Us is. They are the UUA preferred consulting firm for helping congregations with questions of stewardship. They provide training, but they also do direct consultation. So they are a consulting firm that can help you to analyze the capacity your congregation may have for a capital campaign, and to help you build a successful capital campaign. They can help congregations in analyzing capacity for building projects and in developing special asks. Anything that relates to stewardship, they are a group of Unitarian Universalist stewardship experts. And we're blessed that quite a few of them, though they work nationally, quite a few of them live in the Central East region. And so we in some ways get I think we get more than our fair share of their time, just because the travel to us is easier than the travel to other aspects of the other parts of our movement. So any questions about those so far? So I also wanted to highlight for you all 3 other webinars we have that are upcoming, that for you to be aware and to invite your youth and youth advisors to. We have a wonderful ongoing series of youth advisor webinars being done by our staff, Reverend Evan Carville-Zemer and Shannon Harper. Those are upcoming. March 14th, we have a youth webinar in communication and social media. April 12th, a youth webinar on youth inclusive multi-generational congregations. And I think I would love to see more than just youth attending that one, because that's a good one for worship teams and others, I think, and then lastly, models of youth ministry. So just so you know that those are some of the webinars. There are a few others that are out there. I didn't pick the ones that are more religious professional specific, but there are some other webinars that are out there as well. Any questions so far? Do y'all like my highlighting a particular? Stephen, I see you're talking. I'm going to unmute you. Go ahead.
Okay. I just have one question about the stewardship for us that you were talking about group.
Yes.
I believe you mentioned they do individual consulting. Is that on a fee basis for any?
It is. However, I often find that they'll do some initial consultations with groups wanting to build relationship without that being necessary. But they are based on a fee-for-service model.
Thank you.
And they do a wonderful, where they come in for a weekend and do an in-depth experience for a congregation relating to financial health and financial stewardship. So there's lots of different offerings that they have. I think it's stewardshipforus.us is their website, but we will link that in the email when we send it out to everyone. All right, so the next thing I wanted to touch on briefly is something I debated whether to bring to you all, but I decided that, some of our congregations, the boards are chief of staff for the congregations. Others, we want you all to be aware that this is happening, so maybe you can encourage your chief of staff, be it the minister or an executive director or whoever it is in your congregation, to be able to attend. We have upcoming May 4th through 5th in Morristown, New Jersey, the Reverend Susan Beaumont presenting her Stepping Up the Staff Supervision workshop. Training. I took this training in Minneapolis about 2 years ago, and it's profound. This is the HR course for church. How to manage everything from a good performance management plan for employees to what some of the legal requirements around employment are for staffing, to how to do good hiring, how to advertise how to recruit well and do good hiring, how to let someone go when that's what you need to do, right? So this is kind of the intensive, all the things, because I'm going to let you in a little secret. They don't teach human resources in seminary. And so yet many ministers come into congregations and other professionals, and even some boards, where you are needing to fulfill some human resources responsibilities. And so this this training is being offered. It is a little expensive, more expensive than some of our other ones. It's on a sliding scale between 175 and 225 for the 2 full day long workshop and training. I have found it wonderfully helpful. So this is also on the Central East Regional Events website. Any questions? Stephen, did you have a question?
No.
Okay. I left you unmuted. So I'm going to hit move on and just say, once again, we're bringing up that on April 1st, that we will have our Central East Regional Leadership Day. These are the 4 events that I know about, but there may be 1 or 2 more that are happening. So the basic, this is, we're having, these are all built around a live debate by the 3 candidates for the UUA presidency that will be held in Bethesda, Maryland at the Cedar Lane UU Church. And we're building other events around that because we're going to live stream that debate. So events in Kent, Ohio, in Syracuse, New York, in Lewis Center, Ohio. Do we know of anywhere else where they're happening, Megan?
Yeah, there's a long list of them. I think if you go to the website, you can see it's actually changing a little bit every day as plans come together. So good to go to the website.
Yep, lots of congregations are setting up events on this day. So events will be happening throughout the region, but in each of them, we're going to live stream the presidential debate. And there is even the capacity for you to go online on the events page for this and click through to where you can submit questions to the candidates. We're really excited about this event. I know that I am doing one of the programs. At each event, there will be different programs also happening that day. I get to do one in Bethesda on pastoral care in times of crisis and challenge, in particular related to moments of justice crisis. So we have so go to the website and on the April 1st event, click on it, and you'll see the long list of events. Any questions? If not, then I want to call back up Hope, and I'm going to take us off. We have one question just came up in chat. Before I do this, I'm going to check what it is. Megan sent the link in the chat. Thank you. We have. I'm going to take us off share screen, and we can all spend some time with Hope. Hope is going to lead us through, and we're not doing PowerPoint for this one. Hope is just going to engage with us. So on leading by listening. So with that, I will take us off share screen and hand it over to you, Hope.
So David, a question is, if people answer in the chat box, can everyone see it or at the same time, or is it possible for me to just have a conversation with people? I don't know how many people are on the call.
We can have a conversation and let people unmute when they want to join in.
Fantastic. Thank you. So once again, talk about listening. Listening is it's an essential competency in these. Sorry.
Keep going, Hope.
Listening is an essential competency in these exciting and challenging times. As I have done the work in terms of dealing with conflict transformation, I recognize that within our UU context, technology has shrunken physical distances and instantaneously and efficiently connected people to each other. There's emailing, texting, instant messaging. Several of my colleagues always have 2 cell phones in hand. We are spread over several states, as David mentioned just a few minutes ago. And in today's world, In today's world, the traditional one-way lecture method of preaching, the one-way lecture method of teaching, inactive listening to TV, passive participation in front of our computer screens have actually hurt our listening skills. An unfortunate byproduct of this is the loss of leadership skills because we don't often enough include listening as a skill that leadership requires. I suggest that we learn more by listening than by speaking. And that oft repeated, that's why we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. You know, we say that, but most of us don't really find it easy, whether in our one-on-ones or in our small group interactions, to pay close attention to what others are saying so that we can empathize with them. The dominant mode of listening is, we think of it as private. It's not shared, it's distracted, not focused, and contained, not at all engaging. Think for a minute about the earliest messages that you received about listening when you were growing up. Type them up in the chat box. Let me tell you 2 of mine. Children should be seen and not heard. And then on the other side, I got from my dad and my Sunday school, children's voices matter. What are some of the early messages that you received about listening when growing up?
So Hope, I put one of the ones, this is David, I put one of the early messages I got as a child, which was that it's better to be silent than to prove you are an idiot.
Anyone else? Early messages. Faye says, gifts should be nice, quiet, and not too smart.
I don't know if you can hear me. This is Lee, and I definitely got children are to be,
Go ahead.
okay. Children are to be seen and not heard, which I think you said already, Hope.
Yeah,
And
but
this is
it bears repeating.
this is Stephen. I always heard men are supposed to be strong and not show their emotions.
These are interesting, and I hope that we can record that chat, because some of them are sentiments that you wouldn't usually put together. Sometimes you wouldn't put them together within one family, as in my case. Children should be seen and not heard, and at the same time, influences matter. Last weekend, I was a leader in the Women's International Convocation in Pacific Grove, California. I just got home late last night. The leaders had worked really, really hard. They had worked so hard together to coordinate this conference and to bring it to fruition over the course of 2 years without one in-person meeting. I have to ask, why is it that in interpersonal space, people often still feel a great distance from each other? What do you appreciate about how you are as a listener today? Let's get a few answers in the chat box. What do you appreciate about how you are as a listener today?
And I will read them as they come into the chat box. That way they're in our meeting.
Thank you, David.
From the questions that we had before, while people are typing, Megan shared, you can't be listening when you're planning your next thing to say. Howard said, don't speak until spoken to. And Andrew said, men don't cry.
Ah, that's a good one.
So Hope, ask your question again. What it is that we're putting in the chat box.
What do you appreciate about how you are as a listener today with all of the distractions? What do you appreciate about yourself and how you are as a listener?
Can you hear me?
We can, yes.
Yes.
Can you tell me where the chat box is? I'm sorry. I can't. I'm looking on my phone and I don't see anything.
So on phones it's harder to find. So Stephen, why don't you just say what yours is?
Okay. All right.
And I'm going to unmute everyone who I muted. So I'll tell you that I you know, for me, Hope, as a jump in, I know that I appreciate that when I stopped talking, I realized that there was a me that was separate from that. And it really took, spending some time in a Zen temple for me to stop talking.
And I view other people as a mirror for myself, and I often check in with them once in a while just to, I guess, find out how good I'm listening and how good I am being as a listener.
So to read a few from the chat, Faye says that I am old enough and have enough life experience that I can empathize with most that I hear. I have a base of reference. Howard shares, I make an effort to purposefully listen so the other person knows that I value what they are saying. Andrew says, I try as hard as possible to be fully present. Megan says, I like learning things that I would never know otherwise.
Thank you. Now, I shed my wonderful way of being, I think sometimes, of being able, so learning how to listen is very hard for me. But my question to myself was, and I'm asking it of each of you as well, what would you like to change about how you listen today? One of the ways I achieved it was by stepping away from words with friends or whatever I was doing, because I could always do 2-3 things at once, and just focusing on one thing at a time. And I'm still actually working on my ability to focus on just one thing, because I feel as if I'm such a good multitasker. So what would you like to change about how the ways that you listen today?
This is Carol Walker, and I'm on the phone only because I got kicked out of Zoom. They say I have low bandwidth. But anyway, I am a radio, meaning that you don't have to look at me for me to feel that you're engaging with me. As long as you don't slam your head down on the table and fall asleep, I assume that you're listening to me. But there's some people who are televisions, meaning that they want you to look at them and not do anything else, but directly look at them while they are talking. And I find that I have to be very conscious about the difference between radios and televisions.
This is Steve Barada. I often, and I have a phone also, I often find that I have to catch myself when I am paying attention to how I want to respond and not really listening to what's being said. I know that's an area that I really need to work on.
So this is David, and before I read the chat, I'll say that I know that I regularly have to work to not be listening with a purpose. To not be, it's a factor of my work. It's a factor of being a chaplain. I mean, just listening with it, I have to work to be able to listen without having my own plan or agenda or what I'm trying to get to, my own goals with that. And it just is a regular reminder. I'll read from the chat. Lee Pardee says, I can really listen, I can open up and hear better. If I can really listen, I can open up and hear better. Bob Hatfield says, I know about interstitial meaning, i.e. what does the space, the silence between the spoken words tell us? James Furiosi says, I would like to improve my focus as I tend to multitask. And Lee Pardee says, I would really like to be able to better hold back my opinions and listen more openly with both heart and mind.
Thank you, Dave. In the back of our minds, I'd like us to just think about a time when you were unable to be a good listener. I think all of us have had those moments when we either decided or simply could not listen anymore. But right at this minute, imagine, if you will, that you're chairing a board meeting, you're facilitating a conference, a gathering. In your mind's eye, look around at that table, that meeting table, that conference table, and imagine the signs that you see, if you're paying attention, that indicate good or poor listening. Robert, Alice, and Tyrone, for example, exhibit poor listening behaviors. Think about what those might be. In this case, those behaviors included fidgeting, looking at the watch, yawning, looking bored, interrupting and saying, well, that reminds me of a time when I whatever, and going on to tell a story. You know these treasured trustees. You know who these people are. Just think about how you as the leader feels in this scenario, where there is poor listening skills being exuded. And then imagine, if you will, those leaders, trustees, committee members, whatever, who exhibit good listening behaviors. For example, there's Ramona, Jim, Susan, and Alex. Imagine what they do to exhibit good listening behaviors. Just think for a minute. In my experience, they maintain good eye contact. They have an encouraging, open, and positive facial expression. A smile always helps. Body language that is relaxed, not anxious. And they ask clarifying questions. Imagine now you are that same leader facilitating a meeting. How do you feel when you are actually working with persons who are good listeners? I know it can take a minute of poor listening to make a person feel terrible. But it can also take a minute of listening to make a person feel much better. Think about it. There is really great power in good listening. Let's come back to a time when you were not a good listener. And please share in the chat box. This is our, if you would, just share a time when, or a situation where you could not listen. And where did that reaction come from? That's the question. Please share a time when you could not listen, or tried and didn't.
This is Steve Barada. Having a fight with my brother can always be challenging when I can't listen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And Megan shared in the chat box, when I was already sure that I was right. And I would share, while we're waiting on people to type times that they were not great listeners, I would share that, you know, it happens regularly when I switch from one thing to another and my mind is still locked on the thing I was doing or focused on before.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's not just once, it's a regular thing, because, but being able, when I'm still living in the past, in what I was doing before and not present in the moment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And Faye says, when it is something we have gone over before many times. Kenneth writes, when someone is trying to solve my problem, when I want to have someone recognize what I am feeling. I'm going to unmute some people.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can, Carol.
No, this isn't Carol. This is Carmelita, Carol's sister.
Oh, hello, Carmelita.
I know that does
Your
happen
voices
even
get
with our.
me every time.
I know.
No, we not only, Carmelita, by the way, I am on the call.
I know you are. I heard you.
Oh,
and I thought
okay.
I would give you a heads up too in case you were going to say something bad about me. Not really. No, but sort of as you were talking, I became aware that I was not listening well because I was feeling stressed because I could not be heard. And, so I was feeling that, I'm aware that conversations that are one way, et cetera, are stressing to me, where only one person is able to communicate and the other person can't reciprocate in any way. Mm-hmm. So I'm aware I was feeling stressed about that and wasn't listening as well when I realized that was happening.
Thank you.
Hi.
And Carmelita, you have my apologies. I am trying my best to manage the muting. We're getting background noise from the phone, so I'm having to mute them in and out.
Sure.
Hi,
no, not a problem.
This is Steve Barada. Hello?
Hello, Stephen. Go ahead.
Hi. I don't know if you heard me before, but I said when I'm having a fight, especially with a family member, the judgments come out like crazy, and it is so hard to listen to what the other person is really saying.
And we got you. Thank you. We heard. Thank you for sharing. I have Faye has written in the chat. When it is something we've gone over many times. I think I read that before. Kenneth, we spoke about. Lee Pardee has said there is more than one person at church who frequently pushes my buttons and irritates me. When she starts telling me something that isn't being done right, I tend to dismiss her. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Andrew writes, it usually happens when I've just had something negative going on at home.
Hmm. So as we lead, I'm sorry, was there someone else?
It's just some of the background noise. I'm going to remute everybody on the phone and I'll unmute you again in a few minutes. Go ahead, Hope.
So as we lead, let's remember the obstacles to listening that we face as we lead. There is boredom, maybe because you just don't really feel like leading that meeting. Maybe you'd rather be someplace else. You don't feel you have enough time, or as we just heard, you don't feel that you can be heard. You might be stressed out. You might just be hungry or tired. We bring these, we have to face these obstacles regardless which seat we are sitting in at that conference table. Think about, call to mind good listeners that you have met in your lifetime. Hopefully you'll have someone that you've met in your lifetime. If not, then maybe make one up. My person who was the most skilled listener I had ever met was Pope John Paul II when I met him at the Holy See. He knew more about me than I could have imagined, but more importantly, he sat down, spoke to me and my family, and made me feel so special. And all he wanted, oh, no. I want to hear about you. What are those qualities that make someone a good listener? He's of an entirely different religion. We thought differently on most everything you could imagine, and I will never forget how he was an amazingly wonderful listener. Nelson Mandela was also an incredible listener. My daughter is a good listener too. So who in your life is a good listener? And think about the qualities that they bring to good listening and incorporate them into your life as a leader. So I would invite you to just say some names And then remember to incorporate some of what you've learned from them in your life.
So I will read names as they come up in the chat box. I will say that to the previous question, James Finossi shared, sometimes I've been disturbed when people use joys and concerns to critique me rather than approach me directly.
I'm with you.
Can you say that again? I didn't understand that. This is Carol.
Carol, and I'm going to unmute people. James says in the chat that sometimes I have been disturbed when people use joys and concerns to critique me rather than approach me directly.
Can we call out the name of someone who is a good listener, or are we to think of it ourselves?
I think we're going to call them out.
Yeah, call them out so we can all be inspired. Please do.
My mother, Joan.
Mm-hmm.
Someone at our church, Carol Boston.
Yes. Yes.
And I've unmuted everyone, just so you know.
A friend of mine from church, Carol Strausser.
I agree, Andy. We're both in the same church.
Mm-hmm.
Tina Purdue, fortunately, the current chair of our Committee on Ministries committee at my church.
Great. So
our church
remember,
treasurer, Dan Malone, is a good listener.
Say that again, please, Evelyn.
Our church treasurer, Dan Malone, is a very good listener. And our former president.
I find that most members of my current board of trustees are very good listeners.
And Arnold says that for those that weren't able to hear, because it's really low, most members of his current board of trustees are very good listeners.
Nice.
So as we move forward, let's remember some of those persons that we've recalled, and just imagine, tease out the qualities that they have in terms of listening, and let us try to emulate some of them. Because listening is not merely to be understanding of what somebody else is saying or doing or feeling. The listener sort of has to be an absorbing head. And I really do believe that to get more out of listening, we need to shift our mindset to reflect the fact that in leadership, there is a lot of listening that's required. We need collaboration, teamwork. Listening helps us to be better decision makers. Listening helps us to be better problem solvers. And listening helps us to be leaders who are able to achieve their goals. And by goals, I mean shared goals. So I hope that we as leaders will see ourselves and have others see all of us as equally empowered and empowering conversational partners who share a commitment to mutual understanding. That's it, folks. Keep listening as you lead. And if we pay attention to that, I think each of us will continue being better congregational and organizational leaders. Thank you.
And as one alibi, I want to add that Faith added in the chat that some of the great listeners are experienced folks in 12-step recovery programs.
Indeed.
So thank you, Hope. We want to alternate a bit of what we bring, some more experiential times, and sometimes to bring things that are more workshopy. And so Hope, you did that beautifully. Thank you. I just want to say that one of my great joys is that the first person that, when you asked that question, the person that I thought of was Hope Johnson. Who I get the privilege of you listening to me on a regular, and sometimes, probably more than you want to sometimes. But
thank you so much. And it's a joy to be here with each of you, and I look forward to meeting all of you. Thank you.
So I'm gonna put us back on share screen for a minute as we move into the next section of our program for tonight. We are. And really, this is just about hearing from you. So this is the point where I'm going to take everybody off mute, and we're just going to have a conversation. What I'm going to invite you to do is, before you share your name, your congregational position, and what congregation you are with. And then answer the question about, and we listen to each other. We put some of Hope's skills into practice. We're going to listen to each other about what are the hopes and dreams? What are the goals? What are the things we're really hopeful for our congregation in the future? And I'm really looking for practical. I'm really looking for not, we are, of course, going to build the beloved community, heal the planet, and make it whole. But I'm looking for stuff like, hire a full-time religious educator. Or, make it through this current financial crisis that we're in. I mean, whatever it is, what are the hopes that we have, and kind of more positive ones, what are the hopes that we have for our congregations? And we are listening, and we're hoping we can listen to each other. So let me, somebody just asked me a question in the chat while I'm about to unmute everybody. So I'll read those in a few minutes. Let me run through real fast unmuting people. So, would anyone like to start?
Well, I'm Carmelita again.
Go ahead, Carmelita.
Carter. Okay. I'm Carmelita Carter Sykes at Paint Branch. I am the co-chair of the Board of Trustees. And, of course, I'm very much interested in us doing well as we look for and get a settled minister. And I also want us to learn how a religious community is different from how we may have operated as leaders in the government of the community and where we worked. Some skills are transferable, and some we need to look at and examine to see whether they're really good in a religious community. All of that to help us be more in community with each other.
Thank you, Carmelita.
Mm-hmm.
David?
Yes. Is this Stephen?
No, I haven't spoken yet.
Okay, so who is this?
This is Greg Gall.
Hello, Greg. I'm going to mute one person for a second. We got some background noise. Go ahead, Greg. Greg is apparently having a problem.
If Greg's not ready to go, then I'll go.
Go ahead, Stephen. And Greg, we'll come back to Greg in a minute.
Hi, this is Stephen Barada from Glens Falls, New York. Hello?
Go ahead.
Okay. And we're a small congregation, and one of the things that we are striving for right now is to hire a half-time minister starting next year. We are also going through what I would consider a very healthy growth spurt right now, and a flurry of activity that seems to really be inspiring and wonderful. The only other things, though, is that there's a culture. There's a culture shift that people are avoiding in the congregation, it seems like. By the way, I'm the treasurer of the congregation. There are things that go on, like indirect communication, that we're trying to shift the culture through leadership, and that can be a very daunting task.
Thank you, Stephen. Who would like to go next?
This is George. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, George. Go ahead.
This is George Banziger, board president at the Marietta, Ohio congregation. The dream I have, as we experience, like a lot of congregations, an uptick in our attendance. I'd like to transform these new attendees into engaged members. And I'd like to transform those members who are merely lurking as members into leadership positions. So those are my dreams.
So as I hear it, George, is that those who are new attendees, because we talked about last month, a lot of congregations are experiencing new attendees with the recent political changes, to help them move into membership and help membership have people that are kind of members, but help them move into leadership. Is that right?
Yes, members who are lurking and really not engaged, get them to be to serve in leadership positions. That's right.
Thank you, George. Who's got something else, another dream or hope that they would like to share?
I have several.
And please, Evelyn, please tell us who you are and where you're from.
Okay, I'm Evelyn Grimm. I'm president of Channing Memorial Church in Ellicott City, Maryland. We are in a period of transition, and so of course I am hoping that we have a wonderful settled minister in about another year and a half. The other dream that I have is we are age-wise an older congregation. Most of us are middle-aged, and our religious education attendance has been dwindling. Of late, we are attracting some young families, and so my next dream is that we grow to the point where we can hire a religious education director once again. Part-time, we're not ready for full-time yet, but part-time would be a step forward. And I'd like to echo the previous speaker. We have a lot of people who are willing to volunteer for short-term projects, but I think we're starting to develop a core of people. I would like to see some new leadership within the congregation.
Thank you, Evelyn. Who else would like to share?
Bob Munson, if you can hear me.
We can, Bob. Go ahead.
I don't know if you can see me.
We can see you too.
Okay. I'm a little afraid of that. I'm from the New Jersey East Brunswick Church, and we have a new settled minister started in August, and we are dealing with leadership, basically opportunities, I think I'd call them. I think we're on the cusp of doing some growth, but we're, and also we're encountering some budgetary things as far as just what do we spend, what do we devote to first.
So thank you. Thank you. So who else would like to share? Faye?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
how
this
about Faye and then Lavona?
Okay, this is Faye Bradwick, and I'm the president of the Indiana-Pennsylvania UU Church, and we're 60 miles northeast of Pittsburgh, pretty much in the middle of nowhere. But we've had, I've been with this congregation, this is my 26th year now. It's a rural college town with about a 15,000 student university here, state-owned. So the dynamics are interesting, although everybody thinks that college towns are liberal. The locals here think that everybody at the university is liberal. I will tell you, it's the most conservative university I've ever been at. So that sort of flavors all of the decisions that we go through. We are in the process of embarking on doubling the physical plant of our church. And in less than 2 weeks, on Sunday, March 5th, and this is my hope comes in, we are having our congregational special meeting and vote for the congregation to give the board permission to conduct the capital campaign for that and to sign the contract with the general contractor so that we can start construction probably the last few days of March or the first few days of April. And I don't know, probably 10, 12 years in the making of this. It's really been along in the last 2 years and especially the last few months. So I'm hoping for good votes and smooth transitions.
Thank you. And anyone who is about to embark on a major capital campaign is often hoping for good votes and smooth transitions.
I did want to mention, David, the stewardship counselor people that you talked about.
Stewardship for Us?
Yeah, the Stewardship for Us. We used them. It was great.
See?
It was great. Yeah.
We couldn't ask for better.
We had Barry Finkelstein out of Delaware. Barry was running up to take care of us, and we did some of it in person and some of it we did as teleconferences like this, and it was great. It was a very good experience.
Thank you, Faye. Lavona?
Hi, yes, I'm Lavona Grow, and although I am from the Unitarian Universalist Church of Arlington, Virginia, I'm really here in my capacity with the Unitarian Universalists for Social Justice, and we're kind of ex officio in our region to the clusters. And I guess my dream is that we'll, as an organization, which we are, for those that don't know, a partnership of congregations and individuals committed to doing social justice work. And then we've moved into advocacy work. So with the influx of all the new people coming into congregations after the election, sort of my dream is that we engage them, we help to engage them in action, in advocacy, and through we have a training, congregational-based advocacy training and ways to kind of engage congregations in doing letter writing campaigns that we can deliver on the Hill. And we just launched our monthly advocacy corps on Capitol Hill with about 20 people. And we'll be going up every month. And so we also have opportunities for these the trainings, like I said, the trainings and the right here, right now, and other kinds of ways to engage people to live out their values of social justice. So we're going outside the National Capital Region in doing this work. And so my dream is that we'll be able to work with congregations and help them convert these people who are coming into congregations to stay in our congregations because they see a path to social justice action.
Thank you, Lavona. And you remind me that it might be a good idea for us to partner with you and maybe some of the other social action advocacy network chairs to be able to bring that as one of the featured presentations one month to talk about the role of state advocacy networks. And UUSJ is more of a national advocacy network than a state one in the national capital. But that seems like that would be a good conversation that we could have one day. Maybe Megan and I, Megan is our Justice Ministries program manager, as well as being the regional lead. So maybe we can talk about bringing that as a program sometime to one of these calls. So who else would like to share about what you're hopeful for in your congregation?
David, can you hear me now?
We've got you, Greg. Go ahead.
Okay. This is Greg Gall from a mainline unit. And we have had a loss of faith regarding our campaign. We're at $4.5 million. We've got about $1 million left. And some research that we did with the congregation, we discovered a lot of people were extremely skeptical that we could handle it. We've lost their trust in our financial acumen and a lot of trust and competence in their management, the administration of the political campaign. So this is a hope. This is a dream. This is a difficult thing to control, and we're doing a series of communication tactics in order to redeem this. But it's going to be a long haul, a long time for us to use that space in the congregation, and it's going to take a long time for us to repair it. I can only we can. It's going to be a fight.
So, thank you, Greg. You were breaking up a little bit, but I think we got most of it. You're from the mainline congregation in Devon, Pennsylvania, and your hope is mostly related to the capital campaign that you all have conducted, that you're able to make that successful. Am I right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to read two from the chat. Dave H says, successfully turning all these new visitors into members. And Bob Hatfield said from Fairfax, our U congregation of Fairfax, says something I don't understand, which is when I'm prematurely planning my response. Maybe I missed something. So maybe there's a chat that got by me.
Dave, that was a belated response to Hope's earlier question of what
Gotcha. Thank you, Bob. So anyone else? We've got about another, you know know me about meetings. I start on time and end on time. If we finish early, that is fine. We got about another 15 minutes. Is there anyone else who would like to share one of your hopes?
I have one.
James, please go ahead.
Sorry about my voice. I just have like some really hot vegan food right now, but I'm trying to. One of our hopes is we bought a building.
Which congregation are you with?
The UU Fellowship of the Poconos.
Thank you.
And we bought a building that's over 100 years old, and our membership and friends raised about $78,000 to do renovation for it, but we still have like siding, our roof, and one of the challenges since we moved to the new location, our membership dropped, and now new people are starting to show up. So being able to raise those funds and complete the repairs to have an attractive building to attract more people. That's a mouthful, but
that's a wonderful hope. Thank you for sharing that one.
You're welcome.
Who else might have one to share with us?
Hi, this is Steve Barat again from Glens Falls. I had mentioned that we were looking to hire hoping to hire a minister half-time for this upcoming year. And I'm relatively new to the fellowship, but I've heard from other congregants in this process that past ministers that we've had, our congregation tends to let them take over and lead us and tell us what to do. And we're finally realizing that as a congregation, and our hopes this time are that we will be able to work as a partner with whatever minister we call and let them know what our needs are and see how they can fit into our congregation and work together.
That's a good hope. Thank you. To be able to be more of a partnership. And, so sometimes congregations get at one or other end of that polarity when really health is found in the middle. So I want to read from the chat box. Kenneth Schilling says, trying to do justice in reach. It is easier for us to invite justice groups to our congregation and then have our members attend the meeting. We're getting more people in our doors, which is, one of the things that I want to, Kenneth, I want to say thank you. And I want to say, there is a great outreach opportunity by inviting people to your space and making your space available. There's a wonderful quote that we we finally researched where it came from, and it came from Michael Moore at an Occupy rally, but where he said, where does the revolution go when it's not on the streets? Well, it's in the basement of Unitarian Universalist churches. So, and then he said, praise God for the Unitarians.
It's the 1960s all over again.
There we go. So who else has a hope that they want to share?
That's funny.
David, this is.
Go ahead. Hope, you're allowed to have a hope.
Take off my. Okay, because I'm putting on my congregational hat. One of the things we found is we had been the wannabes in many, many ways for a very long time. And we've finally taken a real look at ourselves and recognized that our strength is not in running ahead of everyone, leading the way, leading the charges, but rather being a hub, being at the center, opening up our space to our community, working with others in partnership. And it was the sea change of, oh my goodness, we have to be on the front line to wait. We have a place, we have a gift, and that is to be a hub. And that is, my hope is that we will continue in this vein, because that's actually who we are. And we don't have to compare ourselves with this congregation or that congregation. We can be the best hub. We can be and connect people in amazing ways. That's my hope.
Thank you, Hope. And remind us again what congregation you are the minister of?
Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Central Nassau in Garden City, Long Island, New York.
So Hope is I just want to remind it, just so everybody gets it. Hope is the member of our regional staff, who is half-time on our regional staff and still half-time serving one of our congregations here in the Central East region. So is there anyone else who hasn't had a chance to share? If not, I want to thank you all. I'm going to check one last thing to our excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. One of the things about being an Army chaplain is all the soldiers bring me their bugs on the weekend, and it was last weekend. A couple of things from the chat. One of us in James. James shares with us. That has been a saving grace for us. We have invited yoga practitioners, Qigong workers, meditation groups, vegan potlucks, and other groups to bring in new members and donations. I think that's referring to sharing, inviting groups in to share the space as a form of outreach. So in-reach as outreach. Lee shares with us. My Brooklyn congregation is doing very well. My hope for the next year is that we will finance an improved fire alarm safety system and also workable accessibility solution for a 180-year-old building. I'm going to say amen, absolutely, and especially some of the accessibility issues. Just to say, keep chalice lighters in mind. Chalice lighters has oftentimes helped support accessibility projects in our congregations as a form of growth and outreach. And so with that, and we will be having a presentation, I hope sometime later this spring, on the transitions we're expecting in the Chalice Letter program. And there are a few other, but remember next month, March 22nd at 7:30 p.m., we'll do this again, and we will have a special guest. Over time, we're also not just going to have Central East regional staff, but I'm also hoping to bring in national staff members for the featured spotlight staff section of this call and have them present. So as always, if you have ideas about things you would like to hear about for this call, I would love to hear them. Is there any final thoughts or any final reflections or anything you all would like to share before we close tonight? Hearing none, I bring us, for the good of the order, to my closing reading, which is also, as you all know, I love for meetings like this to bring readings from the hymnal. This is number 661. It's by Ralph Waldo Emerson. We have a great deal more kindness than is ever spoken. The whole human family is bathed with an element of love like a fine ether. How many persons we meet in houses whom we scarcely talk to, whom yet we honor and who honor us. How many we see in the street or sit with in church, whom though silently we warmly rejoice to be with. Read the language of these wandering eye beams. The heart knoweth. With that, go forth in peace. I should have the video up within about 24 hours. You all have a wonderful evening. Thank you all for coming and making this a success.
Good
Thank you
night.
all. Have a great night.
Good night.
Good night. See you Sunday.
Thank you, David.
Yes, and for those in Channing, I will see you Sunday.
Can you tell me how to leave this call? I saw a exit button up here, but it's gone off
I'm
my
going to help
screen.
everybody leave right now by clicking the In Meeting for All button.